Now, a little over a year ago, I uploaded a video titled The Countryballs Community is Cut. Basically, I made that video since I was really frustrated with the community, as I had a lot of problems when it comes to content farms, drama, competitiveness, or the fact that a lot of the most subscribed channels were owned by a few entities. And this video did super well and basically kickstarted my entire commentary on Countryballs channels, whether it be good, bad, or neutral stuff. However, for the first time in over a year, I want to actually talk about the community as a whole again, because there's been something I've been feeling, and a few of you guys have probably been feeling that as well. That being that Countryballs seems dead. Now, I know what you guys are gonna say. Countryballs is still here. Like, there's still lots of Countryballs channels out there, but most of them are either inactive or just straight up not getting subscribers anymore. So I'm going to explain why I feel this way. But before we begin, please like and subscribe, since we're less than 2,000 subscribers away from 30,000 subscribers, and it really helps me a lot with making these kinds of videos. And if you want to support me more on the channel, there are channel memberships available, so I do consider supporting. So let's begin. Now, one thing to note is that Countryballs has always seemed like a really niche community, especially from the years of 2009 to 2019. The community was always loyal, thriving, and while they did have some decently large channels, they weren't too large, since a lot of the biggest channels had around a few hundred subscribers. However, COVID hit and things did start to change. While Countryballs still maintained their whole persona that they had for the past 10 years, a few channels started to grow faster. Countryballs Explain and Galao will be two examples. However, the real effects wouldn't happen until 2021, as we started to have channels like Countryballs, Bulgaria Countryballs, and a few others rising in 2021. However, one channel that also was rising around the time was PWA, who by halfway through the year started to explode in subscribers. And not that long afterward, Mr. Spherical began in late August of 2021, which also exploded a few months after their release. And of course, their rise led to an increase in Countryballs channels. However, another thing that played a massive role in what formed the modern Countryballs community was Mr. Spherical's dub channels. Because while yes, one of the most obvious effects that they had was that a lot of the most subscribed Countryballs channels were now Mr. Spherical channels, this also introduced Countryballs to many different new countries, since at the time, Countryballs was only popular in Europe and the United States, with some Latin American influence. However, Latin America got pretty involved with Mr. Spherical Espanol, leading to the rise of channels like Countryballs España, Mr. Countryballs, and Chippin 18, while Indonesian also blew up, leading to the rise of channels like Mr. Globy, Mas Ilag, and Big Ball. Although another factor that played into this in late 2022 was the rise of State Balls, owned by this young Russian man that I still do not know the name of. He was just trying to become a millionaire on YouTube so that he can do grifter stuff, and of course, with Countryballs being a rising genre, he popped on the bandwagon, and soon State Balls was formed, as well as a bunch of spin-off channels like Country Z and State Balls Shorts, as well as their own dub channels, which only expanded influence across the nations. And of course, the effects was that many Countryballs channels were now hitting 1 million subscribers. 100,000 subscribers on a single Countryballs channel wasn't even common back then, but now over hundreds of channels are above this milestone, with channels gaining around a few 100,000 subscribers per month not being that out of the ordinary. As from the years of 2021 to 2025, Countryballs channels were growing pretty fast. However, this past year has not been so great, since most of the channels I've just mentioned are dead. Now, this isn't everyone, as channels like Not Just Sky, Bulgarian Countryballs, and Poleball Official are still doing pretty strong. However, a few of the other channels are not in good shape. Of course, the obvious picks like No Idea Animation and Anime Snowman, who are losing subscribers, and even channels like Arts Animations and Clear Grand General not really gaining as much as they used to. Although to be fair, Clear Grand General has been starting to have somewhat of a comeback. However, those aren't the only ones. Channels like PWA are losing subscribers. Mr. Countryballs and Chippin 18 is currently stagnant, and Anjo, Mrs. Virgo, and Countryballs España have completely slowed down ever since the peaks. Even the State Balls channels are losing subscribers. And of course, there are many other examples, but all this is really resulted into is a bunch of channels with over 1 million subscribers just being either stagnant, dead, or inactive. And it's not even just the big channels. A few more niche channels are also somewhat inactive. While yes, still posting on his community posts, Polish Taurus has not uploaded a video in 4 months. Estonia Bar has also not uploaded for a while. CSTP Ball has also not uploaded in over a few years, and same with Mappo Animations. And the list can really go on. I mean, realistically, we haven't really seen a massive Countryballs channel rise to ranks like a few years ago, especially since, once again, a few years ago, Countryballs channels blowing up and passing the ranks wasn't uncommon. It also doesn't help that when you search Countryballs, most of the videos are either from 10 months ago or much longer. Of course, why have a lot of these channels have slowed down? Well, a few reasons. First off, a few of these channels have gone into controversy, basically Thai, Countryballs, and Facts, whether it be for dumb stuff or a lot more serious allegations. As well as the fact that a lot of Countryballs channels have gotten deleted in the past. I'm probably not going to pronounce this one correctly, but Schwartz was also a massive Countryballs editor that rose in late 2021. However, due to some serious allegations, she deleted her account. Dunbar was also a massive Hispanic Countryballs channel, but once again, he was terminated. And those aren't the only examples. Lots of Countryballs channels have either been terminated by YouTube or just deleted due to controversy or just not wanting to have a channel anymore. Also, a lot of these channels did blow up on YouTube Shorts, which from first-hand experience can lead to unstable growth and is not really that good in the long term unless you can master it or post long-form videos alongside that. And even some of the channels that are doing somewhat well aren't really growing as fast as their predecessors. Now, you could argue that growth doesn't really define whether a community is dead or not, or a channel in general. I mean, channels like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and Dream, well yes, not really growing as fast as they used to, still are doing relatively relatively healthy and still pretty relevant on the YouTube scape. And we still have multiple channels growing much faster than channels that were growing during the pre-spherical era. And also, when looking at Google Trends, while there has been a massive drop-off in terms of popularity for Countryballs, they are still much more popular now than they were pre-spherical. However, this isn't really the only thing that's making me think Countryballs is dead, since there is another reason why I think that. And it has to do less with growth and more of just the spirit, because I think the spirit of Countryballs is just gone. Now, I might sound a little biased since I grew up watching Countryballs from 2018 to 2020, basically the Countryball community before Mrs. Spherical came along, but I don't know. A lot of the current Countryballs channels, inactive or healthy, don't really put out the same content anymore, or in other words, the content doesn't really hit the same anymore. I mean, a lot of the currently healthy Countryballs channels like Happy Sigma, yes, that is a real name, and I do want to make a video on him, and Mr. Globey, while yes, still doing relatively okay, their content is so far devoid of the original Countryballs formula. And once again, yes, there are a few exceptions. Bulgarian Countryballs and Polarbar Official's content are still pretty much aligned with the old Countryballs values. And of course, I do like it when Countryballs channels evolve and make new kinds of content. The only issue is, besides from a bunch of niche Countryballs channels, no one else has really done that. And while I might sound crazy for saying this, I also miss the community from 2021 to 2022. I mean, yes, we did start to see a lot of the more modern aspects of Countryballs, whether it be Countryballs monopolies like Mrs. Spherical and later State Balls, as well as the slight oversaturation and rise of shorts creators. In my opinion though, I still think Countryballs still have that charm. I mean, once again, channels like PWA, Ikra Ball, and CB Animations still posted content that was pretty much loyal to the original Countryballs fandom. Mrs. Spherical was basically expanding that. Channels like Clinic on General and Alt Animations were still doing pretty well, and even a lot of the later shorts channels like Mr. Countryballs and Countryballs Spania, well yes, not really that liked by the English speakers, I still think was somewhat loyal to the original Countryballs formula. However, when State Balls rose, they just completely destroyed their community, leading to the rise of a bunch of clones trying to capitalize off them and Mr. Spherical, because the exact moment the State Balls channel started entering the top 50 most subscribed Countryballs channels, while the growth of the community only accelerated, the spirit and quality started to go downhill. And of course, it leads us to today, that while we still have a loyal Countryballs fan base with a few big channels still doing pretty well, as well as a lot of niche Countryballs channels with under 10,000 subscribers posting some of the best content I've seen, this has also led to a bunch of the Countryballs channels being either dead or inactive, with a lot of the most popular videos being from a few years ago. Now, do I ever see this community rebounding again? Honestly, I do, but if we were to rebound, I really do hope it'll be in a far more healthier way than what happened a few years ago. I don't want another State Balls or a content farm rising the ranks. I just want a bunch of new Countryballs channels just getting subscribers again. Of course though, based on the way YouTube's algorithm works, it is going to be really difficult, and of course, seeing the rise of AI Countryballs channels is only going to make this much harder. But hey, we can't always be pessimistic, so hopefully Countryballs can rise again. Before we end though, I do want to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on current Countryballs? I know my fan base is somewhat diverse, with many people joining Countryballs a few years ago, and others that have been watching Countryballs channels for over a few years at this point. So I honestly do want to ask, are you guys feeling the same way? And what do you think the solutions are to fix this problem? Or do you think we should just leave it the way it is? I mean, at the end of the day, well yes, Countryballs seems dead, it still is a pretty loyal fan base with a bunch of good channels. Well, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I know this isn't a normal video for me, but it has just been something I've been thinking for the past few months and do want to share it, which is also why this video seems a little less structured than usual. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys next time.